Janaranjana Yashodananda Raja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Baba Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Jana Baba Girivaradari Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Ashtasaki Srimad Mahaprabhu Ki Jai Giri Govardhan Nrsimhadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Panchatattva Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 6 and verse 17. Prematibara nirvina pulakango tinirvrita ananda samplave lino na pashyamu payamunem. Please repeat. Okay, thank you. Prema, love. Atibara, excessive. Nirbina, especially distinguished. Pulaka, feelings of happiness. Anga, different bodily parts. Atinirvirita, being fully overwhelmed. Ananda, ecstasy. Samplave, in the ocean of. Linaha, absorbed in. Na, not. Apashyam, could see. Upayam, both. Mune, Vyasadeva. And translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Vyasadeva, at that time, being exceedingly overpowered by feelings of happiness, every part of my body became separately enlivened. Being absorbed in an ocean of ecstasy, I could not see both myself and the Lord. And purport: spiritual feelings of happiness and intense ecstasies have no mundane comparison. Therefore, it is very difficult to give expression to such feelings. We can just have a glimpse of such ecstasy in the words of Sri Narada Muni. Each and every part of the body or senses has its particular function. After seeing the Lord, all the senses become fully awakened to render service unto the Lord, because in the liberated state, the senses are fully efficient in serving the Lord. As such, in the transcendental ecstasy, it so happened that the senses became separately enlivened to serve the Lord. This being so, Narada Muni lost himself in seeing both himself and the Lord simultaneously. Om Agyana Timirandasya Kyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I wanted to start by appreciating the darshan we had yesterday in Mayapur temple, and I want to ask you if you remember some details about yesterday's darshan, something about this Pushya darshan. You remember? Hare Krishna. Like which colors of the flowers were used for the outfits? It was green, light green, light blue, and rose. Yes. Yeah, I thought green is unusual color for a flower. They must have mixed it somehow, and something else particular, some detail you noticed. Like I noticed how the upper part of the dress matched the color of the blouse of each gopi, because they had different colors of the blouses, and then the upper part of the dress matched this color of the blouse. And also there was apple in Sugopi's hands, and there was a tulsi garland that both Srimati Radharani was holding, and it was going into Lord Krishna's hands. So there were so many amazing details, and this is very much in connection with Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is also a darshan. It's often explained that the 10 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam are like the body of the Lord, and the first 2 cantos represent his feet, and the 3rd and 4th canto are his thighs. 5th canto is his lotus navel. 6th canto is his chest. 7th and 8th cantos are his arms. 9th canto is his throat. 10th canto is his smiling lotus face. 11th canto is his forehead, and 12th canto is his head. I guess it means the top of the head, above the forehead. So then it's not surprising that in the Srimad Bhagavatam we find so many descriptions of darshans, and when unexperienced devotee reads Bhagavatam, sometimes they are looking forward to these parts where something is happening and events are being described, but then when they come to prayers part, they are not so much interested to read prayers. But as we see that Bhagavatam is a collection of prayers, and as it can be read as a collection of conversations, because every time something is described in the Bhagavatam, it is within a certain conversation that took place among the sadhus. So it is also a collection of darshans, and all those darshans were followed by the prayers. And I chose for this class, I did a comparison, a short research, how different devotees reacted when they had darshan with the Lord. As we see in this verse, it is described how Narada Muni reacted when he had darshan, how all his senses were enlivened. So I wanted to read these different verses from the Bhagavatam, where this reaction is described from how it happened for other devotees. So first one is King Parikshit, who is also in first canto, chapter 12, verse 10, where he had darshan of the Lord when he was inside of his mother's womb, and Ashwatthama threw this Brahmastra weapon trying to kill him, and the Lord protected him in that moment. So this is the verse that the Lord was thus engaged in vanquishing the radiation of the Brahmastra, just as the sun evaporates a drop of dew. He was observed by the child, who thought about who he was. So the child, the baby, he was not yet aware that he's seeing the Lord, and that is how the name Parikshit, that is how he got this name, because the name means examiner, and he was examining all his life who was that Lord, and looking for him. Then there is a verse in the third canto where the four Kumaras met the Lord when they approached Vaikunta, where they were stopped by Jai and Vijay. And then the fragrance of the lotus leaves mixed with saffron came into their nostrils, and then they experienced a change of mind, change of heart. And then this is the verse that follows, describing their reaction. The Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like the inside of a blue lotus, and the Lord's smile appeared to be a blossoming jasmine flower. After seeing the face of the Lord, the sages were fully satisfied, and when they wanted to see him further, they looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which resembled rubies. Thus they viewed the Lord's transcendental body again and again, and so they finally achieved meditation on the Lord's personal feature. Because they were impersonalists before, so this was their moment when they realized that the Absolute Truth is a person, because they met him. Then also in the fourth canto, Dhruva Maharaj met the Lord. He was praying to he was performing austerities so that he could have his desire fulfilled, and his desire was to have a kingdom greater than his grandfather, and his grandfather was Lord Brahma. So that was a difficult request to fulfill, but it was in the end fulfilled. So the verse says that when Dhruva Maharaj saw his Lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisances and respect. He fell flat before him like a rod and became absorbed in love of Godhead. Dhruva Maharaj, in ecstasy, looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. Then I have two verses from 10th canto. Actually, it's 4 verses from 10th canto, but 2 are describing the reaction of Lord Brahma when after his illusion was removed. He was trying to mystify Lord Krishna, stealing his calves and cowherd friends, cowherd boys, and instead he was the one who was mystified. And after his illusion was removed and he was able to see the Lord, first he saw that all the calves and all the cowherd boys became 4-armed Vishnus. So they were those cowherd boys. He thought he stole them, but they were not stolen. But Krishna multiplied himself and to trick Brahma. So when he saw this, then he had a vision of Vrindavan, and then he saw Lord Krishna as a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, looking for those friends, and then he realized this is my Supreme Lord, my Master. And then this is the description of his reaction. Lord Brahma's external consciousness then revived, and he stood up just like a dead man coming back to life. Opening his eyes with great difficulty, he saw the universe alone with himself. And then after a few verses, it says, after seeing this, Lord Brahma hastily got down from his swan carrier, fell down like a golden rod, and touched the lotus feet of Lord Krishna with the tips of the 4 crowns on his head. Offering his obeisances, he bathed the feet of Krishna with the water of his tears of joy. And finally, this list would not be complete without mention of the gopis. There are many more encounters of meetings of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavatam. I just chose some. It was not possible to list them all because there are too many. Like I said, practically all of the Bhagavatam is a series of darshans and series of prayers offered after this darshan experience. So this is a verse from Gopi Gita, when the Lord disappeared and gopis offered the prayer while they were looking for him and remembering him. So it's a famous verse. When you go off to the forest during the day, a tiny fraction of a second becomes like a millennium for us, because we cannot see you. And even when we can eagerly look upon your beautiful face, so lovely with its adornment of curly locks, our pleasure is hindered by our eyelids, which were fashioned by the foolish Creator. I always thought that we would not look very beautiful without eyelids, so it's hard to comprehend how gopis are condemning such bodily features as useful as eyelids. But this is, of course, to express their intense eagerness to look at the Lord all the time. And then also there is a moment when, a moment described in the Bhagavatam when Krishna reappears. And then here it's, in this verse, it is described how they react when Krishna comes back and reveals himself. When the gopis saw that their dearmost Krishna had returned to them, they all stood up at once, and out of their affection for him, their eyes bloomed wide. It was as if the air of life had re-entered their bodies. So maybe now quickly I can ask if you noticed, what are your impressions? I was noticing how all these descriptions are very similar and the same motives keep reappearing. So I wanted to ask if you want to if you want to say what did you notice about all these descriptions of darshans? If somebody wants to add. Yeah, okay. Maybe then I can share what impressed me was how everybody focused on the lotus feet. And even it was described that Dhruva Maharaj, he embraced the lotus feet, and Lord Brahma, he touched the lotus feet with his crown. And also how it is described that the feeling of darshan is like coming back to life after being dead, which is similar to the darshan described where Narada Muni is experiencing the enlivening of the senses. And also all the details were also there, how the four Kumaras saw that the toenails of the Lord were like red rubies. So, and also there was mention of tears, how tears were profusely falling. These are examples of Ashtasattvika Vikaras, or the 8 symptoms of ecstasy. And they're described in Chaitanya Charitamrita as transcendental ornaments of Srimati Radharani's body, which include 8 sattvikas, or transcendental symptoms, 33 vyabhichari bhavas, beginning with harsha, or jubilation in natural love, and the 20 bhavas, or ecstatic emotional ornaments. So, I was by reading these verses, I was being reminded how by our process we are practicing through our sadhana, we are preparing for this moment when we will also meet the Lord, and when we will also experience these intense emotions and symptoms, and our chanting of the holy name is also meant to awaken these feelings inside us. And as we go on with our lives, we sometimes forget. I certainly felt I was reminded that this is the goal of our process, because as we go about our lives and we chant and we do all the sadhana, and it just seems that it will always be like this, that there will be some advanced saints who experience ecstatic symptoms, and then there is us who are just practicing or trying to practice, and then we will never get there. But actually everything we do is preparing us for this experience. I guess the only question is if we want this experience. And even in Shikshastaka prayers, these emotions are described, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, "Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name. And also, O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. So this is similar. Here it says 12 years or more, but the word used is the same as in the verse I read from the gopis, where they compare this second when they blink and they don't see Krishna with the yuga, and here the same word is used, a yuga, a millennium. So this is the same motive, how we should be so eager to see the Lord that a moment when we don't see Him seems as long as a yuga. So my other inspiration about this class was to speak about actually impersonalism, because while all these aspects of devotional life are meant to help us establish a personal relationship with the Lord, we are so much under the influence of impersonalism, which is prevalent in the world today. And what helped me realize the extent to which this impersonalism is all-pervading is a seminar I listened from Radhika Raman Prabhu. He gave this seminar in ISKCON Silicon Valley, and the title was The Allurements of Mayavadi Philosophy, How to Refute It. And he mentioned this point, which was I found very relevant for me, how to have all the screens in our lives, to be surrounded by different screens and be engaged in looking at the screens is increasing personalism. And his point was that we should invest our free time when we look for relationships and when we look for entertainment. So we should invest this free time to be engaged with other people and not to look for relationships or entertainment on social media. And he was making this point because as we are trying to be impersonalists, he was describing how all these screens are actually, what he uses is a Sanskrit term, bimba pratibimba, where pratibimba means thing at its reflection. And this is what his explanation was, that this is what the screens are. They are a reflection of the real world. So as we want to become personalists, and our philosophy, our sadhana is all about being as personal as possible, that we should invest ourselves more into dealings with other people in real life and not through social media. So what struck me about watching this seminar I watched a few days ago was that he actually gave this seminar in January of 2019, and so he made this conclusion about the social media and the screens before all the lockdowns, before all the social distancing, and before education went on Zoom, and practically most of the social life in the world went on Zoom. And I was just struck by how impersonalism was already, he said, impersonalism is already increasing. So it was increasing before the lockdowns, but how much it increased now, it must have skyrocketed. And we are, of course, under these circumstances, we are all trying the best we can. But as practitioners of a personalist philosophy, what I got from his message is that we are the ones who should be explaining how important personal dealings in real lives are for how people are benefited from investing into these cherishing personal relationships in a world which is so predominantly impersonalistic, without maybe even being aware. And another point he said, which was also which affected me, was how he quotes Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who says that whenever deity worship is neglected, that impersonalism and atheism arise, and that deity is a place where we can focus on Krishna, and that his conclusion was that deity worship is an antidote to impersonalism. And this is for us very important, because we are not only that we are practicing deity worship in our daily lives, in our sadhana, but we are also saying for other people that this is something that would be useful for them too. Because I remember as coming from Western background, and then growing up, and then without being exposed to any deity worship, of course, then when you become a Hare Krishna devotee, and the first experiences of the deities are somewhat of a culture shock. That I remember even seeing people paying obeisances was such a shock for me, because I never saw it before. This is not something that people do in churches. And also I remember first time I came to temple and I saw the altar, all I could see were flowers. Only after paying some attention I could see, okay, there's something else beside flowers on the altar. So it takes some adjustment for people to accept deities and accept the process of deity worship. And also because in other religions in the West, deity worship is condemned, and that is something we almost, when we preach, we don't say that, oh, we also do deity worship. It's almost kind of only for those who are already serious. What we speak about is philosophy. But actually what I think is that the people who are so much under influence of impersonalism, even if they don't fully if they don't fully embrace the whole process, they would benefit from deity worship, as this was the process that was prevalent on the whole planet before these main world religions took place, in the form of demigod worship, in that sense. But deity worship is not something that is only connected to Hinduism. It is something that was very much practiced all over the world in different cultures, different traditions. So somehow it seems that these Kali Yuga religious reformers, they were very much trying to, they were very much against demigod worship, and this was the focus of Buddhism and Christianity and Islam, to stop demigod worship and to introduce worship of the Supreme Person, the Lord, in this form of monotheism. And what is Lord Chaitanya bringing is again the Vedic tradition, which is inseparable from deity worship. This is what is very much connected. Even we see, what I noticed is that in my preparation, I noticed that even in personalists, we are so much against them, as Srila Prabhupada was speaking very much, trying to distinguish what is the difference between us and the Mayavadis, to say we are personalists and they are impersonalists. They don't believe that the Lord's form is transcendental, that they don't acknowledge that we are eternally individuals, and they say the world is Maya, illusion, so we cannot accept these explanations. But even if they have different philosophy, they also do deity worship in many temples in India. As I understand, most of the Mayavadis, they're worshippers of Lord Shiva, and their worship is different, where they have Shiva lingams, and they worship, their worship is including oblations to Shiva linga, whether with milk or with purified water or with special substances. So Vedic civilization and deity worship, they are inseparable. This was my conclusion. And this is a great gift to the world, that deity worship is something that is helping us to focus on spiritual life, and by focusing on spiritual life, we become less materialistic, less focused on achieving some material goals. And as we go through this process of spiritualizing our lives and our minds, our bodies, then we progress, we come to this stage where we are appreciating other people, especially we as devotees, we appreciate association of other devotees. It's a big step to come to the level to be able to rise above not just materialism, but then also impersonalism, and then to come to this level where you appreciate how much other devotees are doing for you, for your spiritual life, and how much your own success in spiritual life depends on others, especially other devotees, how much you are not only dependent in a sense that you will not succeed without them, but to have this understanding that spiritual life is all about relationships and having a relationship with the Lord, and also worshiping Him with other devotees, because as our goal is love of Godhead and achieving prema and going back to Godhead, we certainly cannot go back to Godhead being impersonalists. And as impersonalists, we can go as high as merging with Brahman effulgence, which is something that we want to go beyond. And then this was the point from Radhika Raman also, that he posed this question: how much is there impersonalism in our lives, and what can we do about it? Because, like he explained, impersonalism is not just something that is out there. We are personalists, and impersonalists are those people who are not acknowledging the personal form of the Lord, but also because the whole environment in the world is so much impersonal, we are very much affected by it. And what he proposes is a question that our acharyas, he says, acharyas, they offer us this question that what is, he says, this is the question: what is the world, what kind of world you want to live in? Do you want to live in a world where we are all one, everything is same, we are together, and there is nothing to hope for, everything is eternally same and universal? Or do we want to live in a world which is full of varieties and opportunities to change, to do better, and to take responsibility? And then, of course, what is so we can. This is a question that we can ask ourselves as a group, as society, what kind of world we want to live in. And also, I found I can also ask myself what kind of life I want to have for myself. Do I want to live in a life where I just want to have success for myself, to advance, and then leave behind people who are less advanced, and then just strive for achievements and I don't know, some kind of higher position and betterment of my situation in life? Or do I want to live a life where there are people around me and I have a relationship with those people and they matter to me and I listen to them and I have time for them and I help them celebrate birthdays, I help them when they need something, even if it is some kind of trouble for me. I make some sacrifice so that our relationship can develop. So I certainly this is what I got from this seminar, and it's such a big lesson that definitely not just that I want to practice sadhana, which is personal, which is emphasizing personal aspect of the Lord, but I also want persons in my life, and I want to have nice relationships with those persons also, especially in the form of devotee association. So I somehow try to sum up all these impressions I got from the verse and from the seminars I heard, and now I can ask if somebody likes to contribute with a comment or question or anything you want to say. Okay, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.